Zombie mortgages. They're exactly what they sound like. It's a piece of paper that sprouts to life that... No, that's not what it is. What they actually are, let's say that you had a home equity line that you thought you paid off on your property, or you moved from another property and you thought a loan was closed out and it's actually not. Those are zombie mortgages, where you thought it was paid off, you thought it was dead, and it sticks its hand back up through the ground and comes to life and now threatens your finances.
And it primarily seems as though these were
Second mortgages.
HELOCs, oftentimes issued prior to the Great Financial Crisis.
Yep.
And what happened at that point in time was, as you may recall, banks taking a look at their second mortgages that were out there, were looking at them and saying, well, this thing's worthless and we're going to sell it. Or we're going to write it off entirely, which is an accounting method of them writing something off. It does not mean that the debt no longer exists, right? If the bank goes and sells it or writes it off, you're not getting the loan discharged in that case. In almost every case, it's still in existence. And apparently what some are realizing now, and the timing on this does seem a bit strange, as though this is an exact moment, but for a number of different reasons, apparently people are getting notices that, oh, this second mortgage that you may not remember or somebody else took out on this home years ago, still out there, we need some payments.
So I honestly think, like, if a mortgage lender doesn't send you a statement in 15 years...
I don't really think you have any right to that.
I think that... I firmly believe that you should pay your debts, but if someone hasn't told you in 15 years that you have a debt, now they're trying to foreclose on you, I think that's kind of on them.
Yeah, I would agree.
Like, there's a reasonable time period in which... Give you an example. When I was 22, I used to park in a parking garage in the city of Boston near where I lived. Mm-hmm. And they charged me $95 a month because it was, an off-hours thing, and that's what I paid. Well, for 2 months, all of a sudden, they just stopped charging me. And so I did what every 22-year-old would do.
Shut up and don't say anything.
I didn't say anything.
Yeah.
Well, a couple months later, they finally caught on. Gee, we haven't charged you in a couple months. We're going to back charge you. I had no argument to be like, no, sorry. Like, I
Sure.
get it. When it's been 15 years and you haven't sent a statement saying that
if you
there's
got a statement on
problem,
that now, might be a different story.
Exactly. This was that time. If you sent me that statement now, I'd say, no, I don't even park at that garage anymore.
Yeah. Now, a few of these examples, though, that I'm seeing just don't make a whole lot of sense, and I'm going to put those on the consumer. So Warren A. Brown of Randallstown, Maryland, got a notice that there was a mortgage that was taken out back in 2006 and that he's being foreclosed on. Well, it turns out that Mr. Brown has been living in a home owned by his deceased brother's estate, who passed away in 2015. So you've been living in a dead person's home for 8 years and not really doing anything about it. I'm not sure that that's all a problem that's on you, that's on the bank, Mr. Brown.
There's another one where it does feel like the bank. So in 2014, this other family got a mortgage modification 9 years ago. They thought that their first and second mortgages were both included in it. They were both from the same lender.
Yep.
And at the time of that, they stopped getting statements on their second mortgage.
Right.
2 years ago in 2021, they got a letter from their mortgage servicer saying that their second mortgage was in default. Well, if you go through a mortgage modification and then you don't get any statements anymore, and then 7 years later they tell you haven't paid, I get that you should know what your mortgage modification was, but it's been 7 years, man.
Yeah.
The bank didn't send him anything.
Yeah, I generally do feel that if a bank just completely fails to notify someone of a debt that they owe, at the very least, you can't be accruing interest during that period of time. Like, I think that would be a fair way to settle this here. Like, okay, you still owe us this money, but the last 8 years of interest that we accrued without telling you we were accruing interest, that's kind of messed up. At least once a year, I need a statement saying that I have a balance due to this organization.
Yes.
You attempted to inform me. And if you can't prove that you attempted to inform me, I just don't think that there should be.
And it doesn't need to. We're not talking like a subpoena. You don't need to deliver it to the person in person or anything, or a summons. It's
sure.
Just have something saying, "Hey, on January 1, we tried to mail a letter to your address of record, and it bounced back to us."
Sure.
give me something. Because otherwise it just...
It's feeling a lot like the mistakes made at Wells Fargo over years.
Well, the other thing, when we talk about, why now in the last couple of years, doesn't it kind of feel like, hey, the banks are a little bit searching for any money that they can find now in order to make themselves look a little better financially?
That could be it. Yeah, I mean, that could be a piece of it. I mean, obviously, with real estate values now where they are, any organization
We'd
that's
like to foreclose on you?
Yeah, like, oh boy, we have a real opportunity here to get a nice-looking home down in Florida at the moment. Go search through all of your second mortgages that we had previously written off because, hey, this is worth something now. So, yeah, I'm not sure what the exact incentive is in the timing right now, but I would think the price of homes and the state of banks is probably to blame for both of them.